So, welcome back, guys, to another episode of Inspire You. I'm really excited today because joining me is the incredible Millie. Amy, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm really, really good. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm really, really happy to have you on here, first of all. I'm a huge, huge fan of your content. And just thank you for agreeing to come on and to share your insights, really.
Of course. You know what? It's so exciting. I haven't been on a podcast before. And I've always been that person who's like, imagine one day if I'm the person that people want to interview. How cool would that be?
Here we
And
are.
so it's kind of mad and surreal, but it's so exciting. I'm so happy. Thank you. I feel privileged.
So we're just going to have a bit of a chat. We haven't really got a plan in terms of the things we're going to talk about. We've got a couple of topics in mind, but I think with your journey, because we've known each other for only a couple of months, but following your content and following your journey and, having conversations with you, I am just absolutely fascinated by the journey that you have been on. And I guess for those people who are listening and watching this, why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today?
Okay. Well, look, I started on TikTok. I started making my own content when, to be honest, I was in a really dark place. I felt lost. I had no direction. I really had no idea where my life was going. And I thought, I saw some people on TikTok making content about their own experience with mental health, mental illness. And I thought, I want to do it. I want to do it. There's something stopping me. And I woke up one day and I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. Put something out there. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm just going to do it. See how it goes. And the first few videos did okay, not great. And the more I kept making content, it wasn't even about the views I was getting. It was more about the feeling of, this is kind of like therapy. Like, this kind of feels like therapy for me, just speaking about it. Speaking about it to a platform, whether I'm getting 10 views, I'm getting it out, I'm getting it off my chest, and this is kind of therapeutic for me, so I'm really enjoying it. And then I kept making more and more, and the more I made, the more honest I was becoming about myself and about my experience, because I've had so many diagnoses in terms of mental illness, and we'll talk about that afterwards, but I just didn't know who to speak to about it. I really was hesitant to see a therapist at the time, because I've learned now the reality is I wasn't actually willing to change. I wasn't willing to change anything. So I was in a place where I was like, I'm just going to talk about my experience and then see what happens from there, Let's use that as a starting point. Just talk about my experience rather than thinking I've got to change.
Absolutely.
And look, now we're here a few months later, and I have so many amazing people that are following.
77,000, I think you're on now. Your account has just absolutely blown up in terms of the engagement and the following. You've recently launched a merch line as well.
I have.
You've got merch. Like, it's incredible.
I've got merch.
Did you ever think you'd have a day where people would be buying merchandise of yours?
No, truly. It's so funny to me still thinking about it, because I see all these influencers on Instagram and TikTok, and they're like, guys, buy my merch. And I'm like, oh my God, imagine if that were me. That would never be me, right? And now I'm like, it's just amazing. It's amazing.
It's crazy. And so I just want to talk to you a little bit about, before we go any further into this, let's be honest, of all the things that you're known for on TikTok, you're known as the Hi Baby Woman. It's become your sort of catchphrase. And I just want to, where did that come from? There's a story.
There is a story here. So when a few years ago, I was dating someone, and we had a mutual friend, and I didn't know this girl before. She's still a very dear friend to me now.
Sure.
So I think we've got to give her a bit of credit for this. And she's South African, and there was something about her energy straight away that I was like, I love this. I literally love this woman. She's so like comforting and motherly and nurturing, and I need that. And she was so gentle in her tone, and she would always say to me, "Hi, my baby, how are you? Hi, my angel." And I was like, I don't know, there's something that every time she says that, I instantly feel at home. I feel safe. I feel comforted. And I was always, I'm telling you now, when I first started saying hi, baby, my friends, people that have known me for ages, had been like, "You've never said the word baby. I mean, not even in relationships. What's going on?"
And now you're saying like, strangers on the internet.
Yeah, no, everyone's like, what is going on? And I was like, there's something about it that is just really comforting for me. And so when I started making the videos, and even kind of still, I watch them, and it's almost like I'm giving advice to myself. So I know that for me, that's really comforting. So when I watch those videos back, and it sounds so strange, and I hear myself saying, "Hi, baby," I'm like, I feel comforted. Yeah. I feel at home. I feel vulnerable, and it's okay to feel vulnerable. And so I wanted other people. I mean, I've had many mixed reviews on the Hi Baby, but most people are also finding that the Hi Baby is also really comforting for them as well. And I love that.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, for a lot of people, you know, again, I touched on this on a previous episode, but we've just come out of a pandemic, you know, and there are a lot of people out there that I think now are looking for that element of comfort. They're looking for that element of reassurance now, you know, in a post-pandemic world. And I think as content creators now, there is a major opportunity now for us to try and repair the world and heal the world, you know, through the content that we create. Because a lot of people are coming out of this pandemic with mental health struggles. You know, they may have lost their jobs, or, you know, they may have had a complete shift in, you know, their careers, relationships coming to an end, all of that kind of stuff. And I think the work that goes into creating content now that touches people, like, you know, on a completely different level, but actually makes them think and makes them feel something. And it sounds corny and it sounds cheesy, but making a video, you know, that's 60 seconds long and connecting with someone in 60 seconds, and, you know, and you'll know this, you put a video out and then you get a comment saying, "This is exactly what I needed to hear today. I've just watched this and you just made me cry." Like,
it's amazing.
It is. I mean, tell me about some of the feedback that you've had from your videos, like in terms of some of the people that have, you know, resonated with your message. Give us a couple of examples of some of the feedback you've received.
I mean, listen, I get messages, DMs, emails every day from people saying to me, you've transformed my life. And it's not about people saying these things that makes me happy, because in reality, I haven't done anything. I've made content, and that's in a way resonated with you. So I'm like, I love hearing that people resonated, and they've resonated in a way that they've managed to shift their mindset to think, maybe I can become this incredible version of myself. Maybe I do have what it takes. And it's that makes me so happy. The messages saying, you know, I'm in such a dark place. I've been through depression. No one has ever been able to help me shift my perspective, but somehow the way that you get your message across has resonated, and now I feel like I can take control of my life. It's hands down the best feeling in the world.
Amazing. So as you know, the podcast is called Inspire You, and You are, at this point in time, a content creator. You are on the road to becoming a cognitive behavioral therapist, CBT therapist, which congratulations for that, by the way, incredible journey to be on. What inspires you? If we strip away the content creator for a minute, strip away, all of that. Let's dive into what makes you tick as a person. Where do you go for your inspiration, for your kind of motivation, to get that drive?
I love that. I love questions like these. So good. Get me digging right in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. For me, what inspires me is anything creative, so anything that's sort of not surface level stuff. What do I mean by that? I mean art, for example. It's subjective. Like, one person might look at art and think, oh, I don't get anything from that. Another person will look at that and think, oh my gosh, imagine the journey that that person went through to draw this or to come up with this idea. And how can I relate to that? So humanity inspires me, art inspires me, music inspires me, gets you thinking. It gets you thinking in a different way. I think, in fact, really, the common denominator in all of those things is connection.
Yeah.
Like connection. So connection is what inspires me.
Yeah.
And what's funny about that, now just talking about it, thinking about it, I think the reason I struggled for so long with my mental health is because I isolated myself.
I see.
Isn't that such an interesting thought?
Yeah.
I've just thought about that. I isolated myself, so I wasn't inspired, so I wasn't doing anything.
Yeah. So I'm not going to name the person, but there's another creator on this app who I saw one of her videos not that long ago. And in the video, she talks exactly about that. Your growth is determined by how much you isolate yourself. Because if you don't go and you don't heal, you can go and heal in isolation. But there's gonna come a ceiling where you've done everything you can by yourself. And part of healing, and we'll talk a little bit more about healing as well, requires you to put yourself back out into the real world, interact with people, interact with situations, experiences, open yourself up to new possibilities. And I think that part of the journey of growth and discovering who you are requires you to take risks and to open yourself up to these opportunities that lie way, way, way beyond your comfort zone.
Absolutely. And I think as well, it's about isolating as well. Listen, I think connection to other humans is absolutely crucial, but also to make sure that you're not isolating yourself from yourself.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
I love that.
Not avoiding who you are, what you feel. And this is something people say to me as well. They're like, I feel anxious and it's terrible and I don't know what to do and I don't know why. And it's just, I don't know. And then it's this like phase of, well, I don't know. You need to tell me. And then we're like, well, 1 minute, because what's really going on for you? Only you know that. Really, only you know that. And so it's important to be in touch with yourself. Once you understand yourself a bit more, then you can start easily connecting with people and embracing connection.
Absolutely. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I mean, what do you think the biggest stumbling block is to people understanding themselves? What do you think the greatest challenge is in that self-discovery process?
I think in the self-discovery process, people are scared to face themselves because people, and it's a very natural human response, we're scared of the unknown. So we don't know what's going to happen. If we start working on ourselves, we don't know what emotions are going to come up, and they're probably going to feel really overwhelming.
Yeah.
And also what we really don't want to do, and I think this goes for many, in fact, everyone. We're hesitant to take responsibility for how we feel. It's easier to shift the blame onto someone else. It's always easier. That's fact. It's easier to say, well, you know, this happened, they broke up with me, or they said this to me, and so that's why I'm upset, right? But what we're missing out is our beliefs, our thoughts, our cognitions that are going on in response to what has taken place. We're missing that whole section out. We're like, it's not actually the event that has caused us to feel a certain way. It's how we have perceived the event that has caused us to feel a certain way.
I love that. Love that.
Does that make sense? Yeah. Does it make sense?
No, it does. It 100% makes sense. And this is another thing I love about your content and just speaking with you. You're very unique in the way that you not only present yourself, but when you do the motivational videos. And by the way, for those of you who aren't following Amy on TikTok, please go and follow her. You know, the way that you create your videos, you not only have a presence physically, you know, with the tone of voice and the eye contact and everything else, but just in the language that you use. And what I find, and I, you know, you can give me your thoughts on this in a minute. When you start following creators who are doing, you know, mental health videos, and they start using technical terminology, a lot of the time you feel like the message gets lost, because a lot of people who don't understand that kind of language, they can't resonate with it. And yet there's something about it that when you use, you know, slightly more complex language at times in your videos, it just comes across so natural, so understandable. And I genuinely feel that people can learn from watching your content, not just, you know, from the way they feel, but from an educational standpoint, because you describe things so well, and you go into stuff like, you know, the cognition process, and, you know, the psychological elements of why. You're very much a why person. That's what I've seen in the content. And I guess, you know, is that something, has education always been a passion of yours?
It's interesting because the answer is absolutely not.
Okay.
But when it comes to, I was never interested in when it came to school, no interest, did zero work, really did zero work. Don't know how I passed my GCSEs or my A levels. So I was just completely not interested. And then it got to a point where I think after school, after studying, you know, after doing my A levels, a lot later down the line, I realized what my passion was. A lot later down, I'm in my late 20s, I've only really just discovered it. But I knew that I was always interested in humans. Like, why do we do that? Like, why do we do the things we do? I just find it's fascinating to me. And I said this to my mum the other day. I was like, do you not just find it so fascinating? She's like, I mean, not really. But for me, I want to understand people because I want to understand myself. I think everyone can learn so much from other people if we just let go of judgment. It's not easy to do. If we let go of judgment and we're just like, what can I learn from this experience? And also let go of judgment from yourself, your own thoughts. Yesterday, for example, this is such a, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent, but yesterday I randomly felt myself getting a bit anxious. And previously I would have been like, oh my God, I'm getting anxious. This is terrible. I don't know what to do. Why is it happening? Blah, blah, blah. But yesterday I sat to myself, I was like, well, one minute, we don't need to, like, let's not judge ourselves. Let's just sit with this feeling of anxiety. It just is anxiety. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just what it is. And I took a deep breath and immediately felt calm because there was no judgment.
Yeah.
And so what I was thinking is, going back to I'm very much the why person. Why be, rather than why is this happening? Like, curious. Why? I wonder what's going on. I wonder why I'm feeling like this. I wonder why I respond in that way to other people. Because the more you understand yourself, the more other people, when even if someone is shouting at you and saying, you're this, you're rude, you're disrespectful, you're a blah, 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 you know, it doesn't, it becomes less of a personal attack and more like, that's when we can start to find compassion for other people.
Would you
So
describe yourself as an empath?
Here's the thing. I would in a big way, and I think it's because it's a learned behavior. I have always really felt quite misunderstood as a person, and I wanted to make it my mission to make sure that anyone I came in contact with did not feel misunderstood. I wanted people to not feel alone and like they weren't being heard or validated. So yes, I am an empath. What I've learned to do though is because I found myself becoming very drained easily by people who, you know, I was absorbing other people's energies, and it was a bit overwhelming for me. I didn't really understand how to navigate it. So I've learned to kind of transform empathy into compassion. And it's still a work in progress.
Interesting.
Rather than just absorbing other people's energy, because I'm not sure for me, and it's very different for everyone, I'm not sure for me how helpful it is to absorb someone else's experience, because I'm feeling all of these emotions and then I'm giving advice when asked for advice based on what I would do in that situation. But really, humans are a lot more complex than that. And my life experiences are completely different. The way I've been brought up is different. My DNA, my personality, my character is completely different. So I said to myself, I wonder whether I can just, yes, still feel empathy for someone rather than sympathy, but slightly remove myself from the situation, slightly, and look at it as just a situation, right? Not me being involved in the situation, not taking on someone else's emotions, and not feeling like I have to fix or solve or help, or because it can become quite frantic when I feel like
I think trying to fix people is the biggest problem that most people come across. We come across this idea that you know, when it comes to helping someone, we're in some way fixing them. And I think there has to be that distinction between trying to help someone from a compassionate point of view and knowing where to draw the line, because we can't fix other human beings, you know, as much as from a compassionate side of things we would like to. We have to give people the free autonomy to go and make their own decision making, because let's face it, we're all human beings. We're all growing and learning, and the biggest part of growing and learning is making mistakes. Your biggest I've always said that the biggest breakthroughs in your life always happen as a result of your biggest mistakes or your biggest challenges. Without challenge, there is no room for self-improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. And without challenge, there is no room for self-improvement. I love that. But also, and it's also about people. You can't actually, first of all, and I posted something the other day, and I said, you're not a broken human that needs to be fixed. You're whole human, no matter what. Just need a bit of understanding. That's really awesome. It's really all people need, just to be understood, just to be heard, because we cannot take on someone else's problems or concerns if they are not willing to take responsibility for their feelings, thoughts, behaviors, and actions. It's impossible. And we drive ourselves crazy in the process, thinking, I can do it, but maybe they'll change. You can't. You cannot change someone else's mindset.
No, you can't. And this is another thing. I think a lot of people, when they talk about this idea of being broken or being, lost or feeling, like they're not enough, what they don't realize is that they're their own worst critic. If you actually sit down with people and say to them, why do you feel this way? Why do you feel like you're broken? Why do you feel like you're lost? Why do you feel like you're not worthy? Who is telling you this stuff? And 9 times out of 10, they'll go, well, no one's telling me this, but it's just how I feel. Okay, but why do you feel that way? What are you feeding your brain? What are you saying to yourself on a daily basis? Because here's the thing, it's not anybody else. It's not some random stranger coming up to you in the street or a friend and saying, do you know what? You're broken. You're not worthy. Yes, we may go through toxic relationships or friendships or bad experiences, but those come and go. Those situations don't last. You're not walking around, your entire life with those bad experiences happening to you all the time. But what you are doing is you're conditioning your brain on a day-to-day basis about how you see yourself.
Exactly. I love that you said, what are you feeding your brain? I think it's so important as well, because it's not actually someone's words that are affecting us. It's there's a guy called his name Albert Beck, or anyway, he was the kind of main guy of CBT, and you might have heard of this theory of the iceberg theory of our brain. And we operate out of three mindsets, which is our conscious, for people that don't know, our conscious mind, our subconscious mind, and our unconscious mind. Mm-hmm. So when someone is saying to us, you're not worthy of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And then we react, we're like, where is that reaction coming from? I have no idea what's going on. It's because we have very, very much deep rooted beliefs about ourselves that maybe, most likely was sort of originated in childhood, and experiences that we haven't delved into, and maybe we're unwilling to do that, and that's okay. But we must understand that the thoughts that come into our head are something that we can't control, but we absolutely have control over. I always say to people, I always come up with these weird analogies. Imagine you're like the bouncer, or imagine your mind is like a nightclub, a members only nightclub.
I know where you're going with this. Yeah, go on.
And you're the bouncer, and a thought comes in, and it's like it comes through the door, and it's like I want to be let in, and you're like, okay, do you have like the requirement? Do you deserve really to be here? Because the thought comes into your head, I'm not good enough. Challenge that thought. Ask for ID. Are you old enough? Ask why it's there. Like, what is it to me to be there? Is this going to be beneficial for me? Is this thought actually going to be helpful? I'm not good enough. Ask yourself why before you just allow it to live in your brain, in your mind, rent free.
Sure. Question
it, challenge it, and if you don't like it, guess what? You don't have to think.
You're not coming in. Yeah.
It's not coming in, and that's it. It really is. The concept is simple, but in practice, it's a lot harder. But I think when we look at it as a simple concept like that, we're like, okay. If we're willing to open our minds a little bit, then it's like you choose the thoughts that you want to focus on.
Let me ask you about this idea of self. You're part of the self-love club. You are somebody who preaches a lot of positivity and the idea of loving yourself through your content, and that is a beautiful umbrella to be under. For anybody who, is on that journey, trust me, it is very worthwhile. If you're not on the self-love journey at the moment, guys, you really should be, because once you start, it becomes addictive. It really does become addictive. One of the things, and I don't know if you've come across this, one of the things I've found about being on the self-love journey, as you grow and as you learn and as you develop, your sense of self and your sense of identity, as you start to put standards into your life and boundaries in place, a lot of people start to misinterpret you and your change as, oh, they become arrogant now. They
Oh
become
yeah.
they become very full of themselves. They become very, and here's the thing, there are a lot of people preaching self-love, on TikTok, on social media, through various other platforms. But what they don't tell you and what isn't talked about enough is that the moment you start on that journey, people will challenge you. They will challenge you. It's almost as if, how dare you? How dare you become this, involved in yourself and accommodating of yourself? What are some of the things that you think that people can do when it comes to overcoming those challenges? If we're met with that kind of negative, feedback, how do we stand in our own power?
Here's the thing, when it comes to setting boundaries, and if it's something you're new to, it is going to be overwhelming, and the response is going to challenge us. It always is.
Yeah.
Actually, no matter how far in your journey, it's still going to have some effect on you, because it's almost as if someone is saying, and it can feel like someone is saying, how dare you be an autonomous person? How dare you live in the state of autonomy and not be under my control anymore? And it's just the way it is. It's the way humans are. It's very important, though, this is why it's crucial to learn more about yourself every single day, because the more you learn about yourself, you know that no matter what this person is saying, I'm not setting boundaries to give you ultimatums. I'm not setting boundaries to give you consequences. I'm setting boundaries for me. Your opinion of me is your opinion of me. It's a perception, and that's okay. But I'm not going to justify why you're setting boundaries. And if you do have to justify why you're setting boundaries, I would never advise someone to not spend time with this person, not spend time with that person, but just think about it, because the people you spend time with, the people you surround yourself with, are either going to help promote your growth, encourage growth, or they're going to try and pull you back. So, and that's okay. If you're standing in your own power, you're still going to be able to move forward, even if you do have people trying to discourage you. But it's easier if you're around people who support your growth. Absolutely. And respect your boundaries. There are always going to be people in the world who categorically do not respect your boundaries. And that's that. So how am I going to take that? Am I going to take it as a personal attack? I can do. That's an option. I can take it as a personal attack. Is that going to help me? Most probably not.
Yeah.
And it's important to just, it's so hard to do, but to, rather than judge what this person is saying to you, if someone is coming in and saying, how dare you, what are you doing, all of these things, rather than fighting back, and this is where self-control comes into, okay, control your emotions in the moment. 1 minute, I know I want to shout and scream back, but 1 minute, because what can I learn from this? What can I learn from what is being said to me right now?
And I think that's such a great, such a great mindset to have. Having that level of self-awareness, means that you're able to grow and develop. And I'll be honest with you, like me personally, controlling my emotions, has been one of the biggest things that I've had to learn over the past couple of years, because I found myself in a number of difficult situations over the last couple of years where people have really pushed my buttons. They've pushed my buttons and they've known just which buttons to press, and it elicits an emotional reaction. And then I go away and I walk away from the situation, like you said, and it's only then that you start asking, oh, why? Why could I not in that moment be better? Why could I in that moment not respond differently. And moving on to talking about self-control, you know, I think for me, and you can tell me what you think, sitting sometimes and taking a minute when someone says something to you and you go, okay, this has triggered me. Before I respond to you, I am going to go away and I'm going to relax myself so that I can then approach you with a response if I feel that there is a response worth having, because sometimes people will trigger you just to, you know, elicit an emotional reaction out of you because they want to pick a fight or they want to, you know, try to, you know, impact your power or bring you down to their level, in which case I'm not interested. But if it's something that, for example, if you're arguing with a partner or if you're arguing with a friend, but you still want to maintain that friendship or that relationship, you still want to obviously build on that. Taking that time to center yourself and to come at it from an objective standpoint as opposed to a subjective standpoint, I think is critical to being able to.
How hard is it as well, though?
Say again?
How hard is it as well to do that?
So difficult. So, because here's the thing, have you ever had an argument with someone? Have you ever had an argument with someone and you're really upset, and the other person just goes, hold on, and they walk away? What's that going to do? It's going to annoy you more.
Oh yeah.
You just stood there and you're like, I've got nowhere to channel. I've got nowhere to project now.
I know.
What do I do?
It's the hardest thing. Your emotions are so powerful, and they really, if you let them take over, if you let them control your body, they absolutely will. They're like a rebellious child. If you let them, they will walk all over you. They'll do whatever they want, and then it's out of control. And you're like, oh my God, I'm so angry. I don't know what to do with this anger. I don't know what to do. And do you know that feeling? It's such a horrible feeling, and it is. I think this should be taught in schools, like how to control your emotions, to literally be like, 1 second, 1 minute, I'm not going to shout. I'm not going to shout right now. Why am I doing that? But the thing is, it's hard. The hardest thing is when you're in a state of emotion. This is why when you're really fired up and someone says, just calm down, categorically is the most calm down.
Worst advice. It's like saying to somebody with anxiety, don't be anxious. Stop being anxious. Great.
Exactly.
Thank you for that. I'm glad you're here. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Oh, I didn't think of that. Like, you know.
And that's the thing. Saying, you know, calm down. It's not going to be helpful, because in that moment, in such a high state of emotion, no, we can't calm down. No, we can't. All right. But we can calm down internally. We don't have to act on our anger. We can still feel angry and not act on it, not choose to act on it. And then, because we can't really do two things at once, it's so hard to be in an emotional state of mind and a rational state of mind at the same time. They're not two things that generally coexist. We have to train our mind to do those two things. One of the hardest things to do in life. I'm not saying this is something that's easy, but to say, I'm so angry right now. I'm so angry. I'm not going to act on that anger, because I want to take a bit of a logical approach as well. So I'm going to bring some logic into this right now. Is my emotional reaction proportionate to what is going on? So someone says, I don't know, they hit you with some kind of criticism, or you did really badly today, or, you know, like, you're such a horrible person. That's, now listen, to anyone, any human is going to be upset. They're going to be taken aback. Defense goes up, walls go up, you know, everyone's like, it's a stressful, you know, it's not a pleasant experience. Is it? And then we get really fired up, and because we're so fired up, we're not thinking logically. But really, when we just take a step back, like, keep our anger in check, keep our emotion in check. And we're like, am I really getting annoyed and angry at what is being said to me? Or is there some kind of belief deep inside me somewhere that thinks this person might have a point? Maybe they could be right. Do I subconsciously, unconsciously think these things about myself?
And I think a lot of people don't ask themselves that question. They just instinctively take it as a personal attack.
Of course. And it's a natural, I want to stress that this is a natural human response. It's okay if that happens. It's okay that we take it.
Yeah.
Of course, we essentially, the point of our ego is to, and the ego being the person we are to the world, is to protect us from pain, from hurt, from suffering. And the ego really thinks that, well, if we just put our defenses up, that's going to help us. That's really going to help us. But the soul, our deepest parts of ourselves, know that it's really not a personal attack. So, and how do we learn to believe that? Really, the way to learn to believe it is to take responsibility, take accountability.
I'm so glad that you just mentioned souls. So this is something that I've yet to talk about with anyone. And if I'm going to talk about it with anyone, let's be honest, who better to talk about it with than the Hey Baby Girl? So we've talked a little bit about energy, and I know this is something that you and me see eye to eye on. We talk about energy, we talk about vibes. Now, moving just very briefly, because we have talked about this in other episodes with other guests, but I wanted to talk to you just very briefly about the concept of relationships, because I think a lot of us nowadays have got to a point where, and for those of us who are in our late 20s, in our 30s now, I think that it's a natural part of the human condition that once you've been through a few bad experiences, you start being more selective in terms of the kind of people you surround yourself with, not just friendships, but relationships, romantic relationships as well. So what is it that you look for now if you're trying to assess whether somebody is a good potential candidate for a romantic connection?
For me now, and I've sat with myself for hours upon hours being like, what am I really looking for? Do I want a relationship? Now I believe I'm ready for a relationship. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for someone who is, I'm not looking for anyone who hasn't had any bad experiences in their life. It's not realistic. I'm looking for someone who is willing to learn from their experiences. I'm looking for someone who is willing to become very self-aware, who's willing to be emotionally present, willing to be vulnerable, to share experiences, to learn from one another, to compromise. And then through that, trust is built. And to just be very present in what is going on, rather than rushing. Is this going to go somewhere? What's going to happen? We can get married. Let's just relax. Let's all relax a minute. Am I enjoying this right now? I used to focus so much on, do they like me? Do they like me? Why don't they like me? I wonder what is it about me? And now I'm like, do I like them?
Yes.
What do I like about them? What do I even like about them? Because all these people in the past that I thought, do they like me? Do they like me? The moment I sat down and thought, do I like them? My instant response is, of course I do. But then I start asking myself, why? Give me yourself 5 reasons why you like this person. What do you like about them? And I really couldn't pinpoint anything that I liked, because I was so focused on, I want them to like me. I want them so much to like me. But
you
really,
basically put them on a pedestal. And and that's, you know what, that's so easily done. So easily done.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
think what happens is when you start putting somebody on a pedestal in that way, what you are doing is you're rupturing your own self-worth. Because what you're
Absolutely.
saying is this person is of a higher value to myself, and that's how I'm choosing to view the situation. When what you should be saying to yourself is, and you shared a video on Instagram, which I found the original video and duetted on TikTok, and it was Pastor Mike talking about this idea of qualifying people on dates. And I don't mean this in like a negative way. I don't mean that you have to go in there and you have to be brutal in terms of, like you're not good enough for me. No, I'm saying you have to go in there and you have to be just as present with the idea of who you are and saying to yourself, do you know what? I can choose to see you as a prize and I can choose to see the value in you. But at the same time, I'm a goddamn catch as well. I'm a prize as well. And as much as I want you to like me, I want to know why you like me. What is it that you see in me? I don't just want you to like me for my looks or, what I've achieved in my life. I want you to really dig into what makes me me, you know? And one of the things I find is that, when I have dated, when I've been single, is instantaneously you can tell by somebody's aura or their energy whether they are somebody that you instinctively want to get to know more about. You can't fake that.
No, 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 you really can't. And another thing about pedestals as well, going back to that, is, we tend to choose partners who there's something in them, there's an aspect of them that we feel like we are lacking. So,
Wow.
They might be really self-aware and we're less self-aware. So, and this is why we put them on a pedestal. We're like, wow, I want this. I want all of these things. But then, and you're right, what we're not doing is actually being present in, do I want to get to know this person more? Because it's sort of this superficial way of thinking, like, well, I must get to know them more because they have something that I don't have. I want that. But it's not about that. It's about, do I really want to connect more with this person? Someone said to me recently, I think that you'd be a great addition to my life and I'd be a great addition to your life. And I was like,
that's powerful.
What a sweet way
That's
of putting it. Because you're not going to be my sole source of happiness and self-worth and all of these things. We're just going to I think you could add to my life and I think I can add to your life. And
amazing.
That's it. That's what it is about.
I think that's so true. I think that no matter what, whether it's a romantic relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's, whatever it may be, we should all be looking to add value to other people. Because I did a TikTok about this yesterday. The motivational speaker, Tony Robbins, he talks about this idea of giving. And, I think, again, you and me share this in common. We love to give. We love to give to the world. We love to give through our own experiences. A lot of people struggle with this concept of being a giver because what they find is the more they give, the less they feel they're getting in return. Sorry. Everyone, when they give, let's be honest, they're looking for a return on their investment. They're looking for that, that kind of, okay, well, I've given you this. Please give me something back so I know that you're just invested, because I don't want to be the person who's continuously emptying my cup for you, and just feeling depleted. But Tony talks about this idea of, whenever you give, it's always going to come back. Maybe not through the same person or the same agent, but it's going to be reciprocated. It's going to be reciprocated.
No matter what, in some way, it's karma. It's karma, and it's exactly what karma is. And so a lot of people, and I understand why people are like, I don't believe in karma, because it's not something that's it's not something that's visible. You can't see it. You can't prove it. scientifically. So it's different.
Yeah.
It's a difficult concept, I think, for people to come to terms with. But once you witness it for
Hmm.
yourself and in other people,
Absolutely.
good and bad karma, positive and negative karma, you realize that this is a real thing. What goes around comes around. The more
Absolutely.
you do good,
Yeah.
the more good you will receive. End of. So doing things out of the kindness of your heart, not doing things to think, well, if I do this, then they might give me some money, or they might, show me that they care about me.
How difficult is that? That level of unconditional love,
We want to know. We don't like, the brain and the mind doesn't like uncertainty. We just don't. And the humans as humans don't like uncertainty. We want to know that if we're giving, we're going to get back.
Mm-hmm.
But we must understand that no matter what, whether it be now, tomorrow, 10 years time, we will get back what we put into the world. That's just the way of the world. That's how we work. And so it's really hard to be kind to people when they're not being kind to us. It's one of the hardest things to do, because we think, why should we? Why should I be kind to you? You're being disrespectful. Why am I going to be nice to you? Because that's them.
You're not doing it for them. You're doing it for yourself.
Doing it for you. And if you can't be kind, then respectfully walk away from the situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
These are all things that sound so simple, but in practice are very hard to achieve. So small steps towards this level of inner peace. It's all about really inner peace that brings inner stability.
Definitely. Let me talk to you briefly we've got about 15 minutes, I think, left. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of your struggles, if you're comfortable with that, because I know you've been very open and honest on TikTok and on your videos, with your own mental health. And I wanted to ask you, first of all, how do you find that going through your own struggles has helped you to create content? And how do you find that it's also helped with your own growth and your own healing?
So my own struggles helped me to create content. Is that what you said? How do I find my own struggles help me to create content? It's helped me to be nothing but authentic in my approach. I realized that I can't lie to myself. I can't actually lie to myself. I was also sort of gaslighting myself for so long, being like, it's not this, it's not that, it's not all of these things. But here's the thing: throughout my life, I have been diagnosed with, it actually doesn't seem real. I've been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So all these are all misdiagnoses. Bipolar. Then they thought it was schizophrenia. And then psychosis and ADHD, OCD, borderline personality disorder, depression, anxiety. The list the list goes on. At one point, I was taking 12 medications every single day. And psychiatrists, I really started to think that they thought I was this lost cause who was just, what are we going to do? There's nothing else we can do for this girl. She's just, there's no hope. And I realized that actually, if I'm just honest with myself about what I'm going through, rather than avoiding the feelings, rather than, well, I'll take my medication and I'll feel better. And that is what I felt. My parents, through no fault of their own, were like, just take your medication, you'll feel fine. And I know that they didn't mean it to sound the way that it came across, but it sort of validated those core beliefs that I'm.
It didn't really help with the growth process. Yeah, it just reaffirmed what you already were thinking about yourself. Yeah,
exactly. And then making content, I realized that the more I had so many videos in my drafts. And the more I was actually lying and being inauthentic to myself, lying to myself, making these videos, pretending I'm, I live this great life. What's the point? Because I could see straight away that it looked inauthentic. And so what is the benefit in that? I need to learn to just really be present with who I am and be comfortable with that. And that's what making TikTok videos help me to do, to just be honest with myself, because even if it's one person that resonates, that one person resonated, and that's an amazing thing.
Yeah, and I 100% agree. And I think that one of the biggest challenges for us as content creators is this idea of genuinely being authentic. Because I find that, and I've had this conversation with a couple of people, that when they first start making videos, they're like, I want to be liked. I want to be liked. I want my videos to be, to be getting this many views. I want them to be, people to be duetting them. I want them to be shared, across multiple. And it's like, look, you can't go into this with an expectation that you're going to have it all figured out from day one. This is a process. It's a growth. It's a journey. And what you have to allow yourself is you have to immerse yourself in the entire experience. Now that means, and this is what I don't like about social media. And I'm going to be touching on this with another guest, but this idea that social media has become like like Ed Sheeran did an interview not long ago where he describes it as like there's like a sheen, across the veneer that is social media, where basically we have become so obsessed with the idea of looking at other people's lives through the lens of Instagram or Facebook or even TikTok and saying, God, they've got it figured out, haven't they? They've got it all figured out. Look at this person. They're going traveling, they've got the perfect job. They've got a beautiful wife, wonderful kids, nice house, nice car. You don't see the day-to-day life of that individual. You only get to see what that person is choosing to put on there in a very selective way. And I find that so many people get sucked into this and it's inauthentic. And what people should be doing more, and I don't care if it makes people uncomfortable, I really don't. I like to think I'm very authentic. I post about my struggles, I post about my successes, but I've had people who have approached me when I've posted about my struggles and they've gone, you really put that out there for the world to see? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because relatability requires vulnerability.
Yes.
If you start trying to put yourself on a pedestal, what you're effectively saying to people is, I'm unapproachable because my life is perfect and I can't understand with what you're going through because I have not gone through that. Because my life is 99.9% of the time beautiful.
Yeah.
People are not
here's the thing as well is we I think the world, it's so important to come to this sort of mutual understanding that every single human in this world is an imperfect human.
Absolutely. No 100% true.
No one is perfect. Even the person that you look up to, we will have like someone we kind of idolize, or we have our idols or role models. They are not perfect.
Nope.
And when we have that understanding that no one is perfect, everyone's really out here just trying to do their best, we can let go of judgment a little bit. We can let go of and I used to think this as well, especially when I had a therapist, for example. I would go into a therapist's office thinking they're a therapist, so they've got their life all together and they can do no wrong. So if they said something that didn't resonate with me, well, you shouldn't be saying that because you're a therapist. Well, you shouldn't have done that because you're a therapist. But no one is perfect. No one is perfect. We're all trying to do our best. And I think it's actually really beneficial for us to walk around with this view. everyone is really trying to do their best with what they've got.
And I think at times, let's be honest, we all fall short. We all fall short. We make mistakes. But I've always said that making a mistake once, maybe even twice, depending how severe the mistake, can be something that can lead to growth. But if you're repeating the same patterns and behaviors and mistakes time after time after time again, and then making excuses for it, and still pushing out the blame onto somebody else, and not taking accountability for yourself, I think that there's a deeper problem there. And a lot of the time, if we're trying to project ourselves as perfect, we're always going to come up short. It's about progression, not perfection. At least for me.
Absolutely. I love that approach. That's so wholesome. It's such a nice approach to have, and it's really refreshing to hear. It's not about perfection. We all do it though, which is interesting. I wonder why humans really strive for perfection, because where did this idea of perfection come from? Well, probably movies, and again, social media, and all, this is a perfect life. And actually, this is what I love about TikTok, more so than Instagram, because I see creators on TikTok all the time. I've done it, posting videos of themselves crying at their lowest points, literally feeling it like they're at rock bottom.
And they get so many hateful comments.
So many hateful comments.
It's why you're attention seeking, or no, they're not attention seeking. They're literally trying to show you that they are a human being just as much as you, and that they have their moments, and that's okay.
That is okay. It really is okay. We all go through it, and there's something, I think there's still a feeling, and it's becoming more acceptable, but there's still a feeling like, but this is social media. Why are you posting yourself crying when you should be posting photos of yourself on a beach?
Because I don't subscribe to that. Because I don't subscribe to the mass idea that's been sold that you have to continuously show the world your better self. Yes, exactly. Show your progression, show your good times, but match it with just as much with the fact that you also struggle.
Of course, and because that's how people are gonna connect to you. And so I made a video. I think it was actually my first video that ever went viral, and it was a disaster. It was a disaster because I hadn't.
Tell me.
I hadn't been focusing on myself very much. I was at the very beginning of my journey, and I posted a video. I thought I was being hilarious, posting a video talking about British people, and oh my god, Lesh, I can't even, it makes me cringe still thinking about it, because I offended the nation. I offended the entire nation with this one video. And that was it. That was the one video that made me take a step back and think, what is going, okay, listen, there's so much hate coming at me from this video, but why? Like, what are people, why are people having that perception of me? What am I doing? What am I saying here that is allowing people to have this perception of me? And that is what changed my whole approach. Sometimes we need people to shake us up a bit and be like,
we do.
And sometimes it takes 500,000 people to do it, but
so I can totally resonate with that. By the way, you're talking to the guy who wanted to be known when he came onto TikTok. I wanted to be known as the guy who was helping people through mental health, and I went viral for a video about making tea completely incorrectly, and I had that video went viral. And the comment section in that video was, I can't even describe to you how much hate I got for it. There were people telling me I need to be deported, people telling me I need to lock me in the Tower of London. It was absolutely, when that video went off, I was like, great, okay, this is what I'm famous for now. I was like,
Exactly. People always say when you start TikTok, your content should be one of three things.
Yeah.
Either inspiring, relatable, or hateable. And I had no idea. And then I had no idea what I was going to do. And then the first video that went viral, I was like, so I'm hateable. Now I'm hateable. What? I don't, that's not who I am. I feel really uncomfortable with
No,
this.
love me.
Yeah. Like,
Please.
no. I was just making a joke. I'm not a bad person. And so that made me really become very aware of the words I was using. And my whole life, I'd always been like, no, I'm just a very honest person. I'm very blunt. But really, that's me sort of saying, I'm not willing to change the way that I am, whether it offends people or not. And I didn't want to be that person anymore. I don't want to hurt people. I definitely don't want to go out of my way to be hurting people. So I want to try my best to sort of not be this person who is offending people thinking I'm joking.
I find the biggest problem with that, I find, is that people who, they preach something but they don't practice it. I mean, that's
yes.
that is just, you can talk about, whatever you want through your content, and you can help people in any way. But if you're not putting those standards in place for yourself day to day, then let's be honest, you're a hypocrite. Because you can't expect, certain standards in your life from other people if you're not willing to give those standards yourself. Classic example, like with in all my friendships, I always say to my friends, I say, look, I don't want to surround myself with yes people. I hate yes people. I love having friends who disagree with me. Not argue with me, but disagree with me in a healthy way. I love having friends who challenge me. And I've always said, throughout my growth, as a content creator, I said, if at any point I start acting in a manner that is inconsistent with who I am, I expect my friends to call me out on it. And I expect my friends to sit there and tell me, because you can't always have that conversation with yourself. Sometimes you don't even realize it's happening. And you need someone to sort of sit you down and go, do you know what? You're being a bit of a douche. Okay, let's tone this down a little bit. Okay.
Yeah,
let's remind yourself of who you are. Okay, because this isn't you in this moment. And at that point, I'm going to respect my friend more, because they're going to say, yeah, do you know what? You're right. Thank you. Thank you for the accountability check. Whereas yes people are always going to tell you, oh my God, you're so beautiful, you're so perfect, you're so this, you're so, like, everything you do, there is no growth there. There is no growth.
And it makes you question then the
authenticity of the friendship.
And is this person really telling me the truth? And then how is that going to affect me then when I go on to meet new people? It's gonna most probably make me feel like I don't know if I can trust people in the future, because my friends are telling me this and this and this. So we want to be surrounded by people who are honest and yes, maybe blunt, but in a way that's going to help you. They want the best. They really truly want the best for you, and we're all able to see those things. It's like red flags in dating. Don't underestimate humans. We all see red flags. We all know what a red flag looks like. We all know what a green flag looks like. Perhaps less so, but we all know what red flags look like. We choose to sometimes avoid them.
Some of us are drawn to the carnival. Simple as that.
It's so true. It's so true. It's so true.
So just before we finish, I just wanted to ask, so what's next for you? What is next? What can we expect now from Amy Millie in the future?
So what we can expect is I'm going to be completing my therapist training soon. So I'm going to be starting as a CBT therapist. I want to do some one-to-one therapy with people, some group therapy. I'm so inspired to do so many things. I want to meet people as well, meet my followers. So I want to aiming to sort of do public speaking and talks in
Amazing.
maybe schools, and just kind of get to know everyone, build a bit more of a community. And I think now that's what I'm setting out to do. I want to set achievable goals for myself for the time being. And those, for me, those two things is perfect for me. That's the dream.
I love that. That's great. That sounds like a very, very bright future for you. And I wish you all the best with the training and that you achieve all your dreams and goals. Amy, this has been absolutely mind-blowing. It's been so eye-opening. To the people watching and listening to this, I hope that you have taken something away. Just before we conclude, I just want to say again, if you're not following Amy already on TikTok, please go and follow her. Her handle is It's Amy Millie. Like I said, this is going to go out on Spotify and YouTube for people to listen and watch back to. But Amy, thank you very much for connecting with me and for joining me on another episode of Inspire You. Right, guys, until next time, thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys soon. All right, bye.